This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Sir Anthony Chiang, how are you doing, sir? Good morning.
Good morning, Big O. How are you?
I am doing great, a lot better than the Miami Heat at this point in time. We got problems, dude. We got problems. And listen, I'm not into this whole, we should have played Duncan. He can't play defense. I would have played Caleb Martin more than Duncan, and he can play defense. But I still don't think one guy was going to make a difference. They couldn't defend. Right. And it wasn't about not shooting enough. And, Bam had 21 points, but it's still kind of, a quiet 21. And we really can't see him up against Embiid the entire time because he'll foul out right away. As you saw that at times when they had him on, he picked up those fouls. So, this whole thing, Spo got out coached. No, I just don't think Spo has any answers for Embiid. So I ask you, how in the hell do they get out of this? Because I just don't – I don't know if – I don't see the toughness, and I don't see the answers in stopping Embiid right now.
Look, this is a different series than the last time we spoke. Joel Embiid changes things dramatically. Before this series, when we didn't know of Joel's injury, I thought it would be a 7-game series. I think this is a very competitive series when both teams are healthy. But I think the simple answer here, and I don't know if you agree with this, Big O. I know it sounds simple, but I think it would make a huge difference. Is to make more threes. They're shooting an uncharacteristic percentage from three. I mean,
but you got to defend too, dude. You got to defend.
They got to defend, but in Game 3, they allowed 90. In Game 3, they allowed 99 points. I mean, that's in the playoffs against a quality offense with two top, offensive players.
Good.
That's not bad. Last night, not great. James Harden got hot. He hit, more of his step back threes. Philly is shooting almost 50%, 48.5% from three in the last 2 games.
All 5 guys in double figures, bro. Where Miami had 2 guys in double figures.
Yeah, they're shooting the ball well. The Heat, again, they were the best 3-point shooting team in the regular season percentage-wise. Last 2 games, 21.5%. These last 2 games have been among their worst 3-point shooting performances of the year.
And by the way, it's not like they're all contested or anything.
No, and exactly. So
they're open shots.
Right. Sure, Philly's making it tougher with Joel Embiid out there. They can play more aggressive on the perimeter. They're taking away the corner threes, which what Miami loves. Those corner threes, they haven't shot many of them the last 2, but they're still getting quality looks, ones they usually hit. And look, despite all that, if they shoot just 30% on threes the last 2 games, they might win one of those games. They were in both of them. I know it turned out to be double-digit losses, but it was a possession game early in the fourth quarter in both of those games. So I think it's pretty simple. They got to start hitting threes. If they shoot 21% on threes for the rest of the series, there's nothing they can do. They will lose the series. So I think that's the biggest thing right there.
Yeah. Now, here's the other thing, and it sounds a little simplistic, but maybe it's the best way to attack these guys. You can't stop Embiid, dude. Bam's not the guy. He's not at that level to stop him, and he's not even Alonzo Mourning. And Alonzo Mourning was an undersized defensive stud, okay, which Bam is not. Bam is not a guy like that. He's not going to be blocking shots left and right. It's just not who he is. You know what I mean? So let Embiid get his thing. But, man, you've got to do better at defending everybody else. And if Caleb Martin is going to – dude, I've had burps longer than Caleb Martin's played yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to spend your fouls, bro. But get your ass on Maxey and Harden and all. Stop everybody else. You can't stop Embiid, but you have to stop everybody else. Is that the better way to focus it?
I mean, look, the Heat are going to play defense the way they played all year. They played Philly the same way pretty much in the entire season when Joel Embiid's in there. They're going to front him with whoever's there in their guardian, whether it's PJ Tucker and Bam Adebayo, and they're going to bring help from the back line of the defense whenever he gets a post pass and just try to make it tough on him. And Embiid did play well, but he had 9 points after the first quarter. It's not like he had a huge game. He scored 15 in the first quarter, and then 9 points the rest of the game, which I think most of those came on free throws because he had a good amount of free throws there in the final 3 quarters. Yeah. So they held him for Embiid Sanders. They held him in check. It was James Harden. It was a 3-point shooting that hurt the Heat last night. And Embiid has a factor in that because he does draw so much attention inside. So it is tough.
And he
It's tough.
facilitates too. He opens it up for them.
Yeah, it opens it up. So I see what you're saying, but I think, Philly shot the ball really well these last two games. They're not going to shoot 50% from three for a sustained stretch. So I think you hope that a lot of those threes that were going in Philly don't go in Miami. A lot of this comes down to shooting. Like, I know it's not a sexy explanation, but it really is a quote-unquote make-or-miss league. It just is. And the 76ers made a lot more shots than the Heat did. It was a different story in Game 1 and 2. In Game 1 and 2 in Miami, it was Philly that was shooting 21.9% on threes in those two games, and the Heat were shooting well. It just completely flipped, and obviously the results flipped. So I don't think the Heat should overreact right now to what happened in the last two games. I think, again, if they make more of those shots at the same that they got in Games 3 and 4, the result could be different. They could be up 3-1 right now. It just comes down to hitting those shots. I think that's kind of what it is.
But okay, would you change anything defensively in the rotation to get better on the perimeter? Is my point. Like Caleb Martin, why?
Yeah.
That's the guy I would play. I think it's lazy to think Duncan when he hasn't been consistent enough to bail you out as it is offensively. Yeah. But then on top of all that, he's a liability defensively. So I want Caleb Martin out there more. You know what I mean? So what adjustments would you make on the perimeter side of all of this?
I mean, that's one thing, but I think the bigger adjustment for me would be to not switch off Embiid as much. I know Bam picked up in foul trouble. That's a problem if you keep Bam on him most of the game.
Yeah,
but you hope that Dedmon's in. You hope that Dedmon is in there in Game 5 and he can play some minutes to take some of those fouls. But I think the switching of every action where Strus is on Embiid down low, and the Heat are at a huge disadvantage, or Kyle Lowry's on Embiid down low because the Heat switched. I think that's something that you have to look at. And in the second half, they did switch less. Bam spent a lot more time on Embiid. They picked up fouls, so that's the problem. Bam's gonna have to do it without fouling.
That's the problem about all of this is that he's not crafty enough to be able to defend without fouling.
Yeah. And
Embiid knows that he can get him into foul trouble, so he gets him into foul trouble. And that's where, when I look at Bam, I don't know, man. I wish he would. He's got Zoe there, bro. But maybe he's just not Zoe. It's just,
he's a different
so good as an undersized center.
Yeah.
And by the way, he played in an era of giants.
Yeah.
And he was elite.
Bam is a different type of defensive player.
Right.
I would say he's. Right. I honestly, I know you think this is blasphemy, Big O. I think Bam is a better defensive player than Zoe. He's not a shot blocker.
Not in the paint. Not in the paint.
That's not. He's not a shot blocker. He's not even as close to good of a shot blocker as Zoe. But he will stay in front of you. He's quick enough. He's versatile.
Yes.
That's
perimeter,
his strength. And even against Embiid on the perimeter, he can bother him. But he's gonna have to do without fouling. I mean, he's considers himself the defensive player of the year. He was 4th in the running. He's gonna be all defense whenever that's announced. He has to take on this challenge, and he has to do it without fouling, and he has to spend more time on Embiid. I don't think that he can switch as much as they have the last few games, and have a mismatch consistently with a smaller player on Joel in the paint. That's just not a formula for success. So I think Bam is going to have to spend more time in Embiid. They're going to have to switch less with him, which is unlike the Heat. They like switching Bam. That's the biggest part of their defense. But I think Bam's going to take the challenge and really try to slow him down moving forward.
Some guys say, no, that your Saban should be in the backup. I don't think so. Although I will say this. I would love Yurt Saban to play the Michael Pittman role. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're saying there. I know what you're saying.
Hammer, yeah, bro. Spread 6 freaking chops. You know what I mean? And then get the hell out, kid.
6 fouls.
6
fouls in 2 minutes.
Yes. Just hammer the crap out of Embiid a bunch of times and all that, just to wear him out a little bit. But that's about the only thing. It's just right. They don't have an answer for him, dude.
No, and nobody does. I mean, nobody does. He's arguably he was a scoring champion this season as a center. I guess Jokic is in win MVP. I guess we learned that this morning, but Embiid was probably second in voting. Nobody has an answer.
You're going to need traditional centers, the guys I grew up with, to cover Embiid.
And even then, he's so skilled that
it might
but
Olajuwon, David Robinson, Tim Duncan. There are certain guys that in the history of the game could be with him there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And give him trouble. But the guys in today's NBA, nobody's built like that anymore, dude.
Yeah.
Don't have those guys.
It's tough. You got to hope the guys around him. If you have Embiid and the people around him are shooting 50% on threes,
yeah,
at that point, that's not great. You're gonna probably lose that game more often than not. So you have to hope those around him, like Harden, for instance, when he scores 16 points in the fourth quarter, hits tough shots. I mean, some of those shots, they were contested. It's almost like you just throw your hands up and say, that's James Harden hitting a contested shot. But other ones, the Heat gave up some open looks that they just can't do, when you have Embiid in the paint.
Yeah, it's been ugly, man. What are you working on there in the Miami Herald so folks can check you out, my man?
Well, to go along with our conversation, have a story going up shortly on the Heat's poor three-point shooting, how uncharacteristic it is, kind of maybe the different shots they got, how the 76ers are because I think part of it is the Heat missing shots, but I also think the 76ers have done a pretty good job taking away some of the looks Miami's used to. So just a deep dive into that and how important that will be moving forward, obviously, for the Heat to need to make more threes. And also Kyle Lowry. We're going to be awaiting that update around 5:30 tonight of whether he could play.
I wasn't big on that contract, but I thought that contract would be a bad contract on the back end. I didn't think it'd be a bad contract in the first year. It's
bad timing for this injury.
But by the way, how does a team that demands everybody to be in shape did not do it with him? And if this ends up like this where he breaks down, do they tell him in the offseason, hey, sorry, dude, you got to get back into shape and you got to be in a Heat shape. You're not in Heat shape. I'm just wondering because as you get older, carrying more weight is not a good thing. Yeah. Trust me, I know this.
Yeah, and for the most part, before this injury, he's been healthy all season. I think he had only missed one game because of an injury all year before this hamstring.
Yeah, all
injury.
that stuff was personal, actually.
All the other stuff was personal issues or sick or he had only missed one game because of an injury. Just bad timing. He's never had a soft tissue injury before in his career. But he is getting older, like you said. So maybe this is a wake up call for him. But he's been able to stay relatively healthy for most of his career, and especially this season. It's just really, really bad timing for this hamstring injury because hamstrings are tough. I mean, as we see, they're unless you're fully recovered, you could tweak it again very quickly.
Anthony, one of the things that I talked about going into this series for the Panthers and for the Miami Heat, they're playing against two teams that happen to be very good on the road. Mm-hmm. Sixers are 27-14. The Capitals are 25-10-6 on the road. So that's the other challenge for the Heat that we talk. Oh, well, they're coming back home. Well, be careful. Sixers are pretty good on the road. And now with Embiid, you wonder.
It's not guaranteed. And as game 5, it's not a must win for either team because, it's the best of 3 at this point. But that's going to be whoever wins that game. That's a big one. That's a big one. So they're going back home to Miami. You play for home court. The Heat has an advantage. They're favored in the game, but it's not guaranteed against a really good 76ers team that has Joel Embiid back.
This could turn out to be the fraudulent season between the Heat and the Panthers. That's scary stuff, dude. One's a number 1 seed in the conference. The other's the number 1 seed overall, and you don't go far in the playoffs. Bad look.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet, though. We're not there yet. Let's see. Let's see what happens in the next few days. But
I'm just saying, but that's what you want to avoid, is what I'm saying.
For sure.
That's what you want to avoid. And the Panthers are in a bigger hole than the Heat. Right. Okay?
Yeah.
Because we're talking about a first-round exit here.
Yeah, and they already lost the home game. Right.
Yeah, they already lost the home game. So not good. We'll see tonight what they're made of. Because if they go down 3-1, like I told you, the Capitals are really good on the road. They already stole one on the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ooh, be bad. All right, Anthony. Good stuff, my brother. Appreciate you.
Always, Big O. Thank you. See you in a couple days.
Thank you. Yes, sir. That is Anthony Chiang and our liquor split Miami Heat report.